Part 6E2002 institutional licensure. Provisional licensure, new application, initial licensure will receive the approved application shall be granted with a provisional licensure for the period not exceeding 1 year for the commission to determine the application is substantial compliance with the standard for the annual licensure with the appropriate fees that have been paid, although the application will complete with the contained with the material of advertising with each requirement still thereby deficiencies will meeting with the standard for the provisional license. The commission reviews all the application provisional licenses shall be imposed with the conditions deemed appropriate in order to comply with the standard rule 6E2004 of the Florida Administration Code. Deficiency for the commission for the itemized with the recommendation provisional license represented with the staff of the commission and the commission may be found with the additional deficiencies that exist. The commission shall, if necessary, attach the conditions which must meet before the provisional license is granted required in Rule 6E2004, 6E1003 Florida Administration Code. Substantive changes in institution undergo the substantive change defined in Section 6E1003, 57 Florida Administration Code. The only annual license or license by means of the accreditation shall be granted with the provisional license for the period of time determined by the commission except for the provided in paragraph 6E20023G of the Florida Administration Code. The institution may be submitted with a written request for the return of previous date with the new status when conditioned with the set before the commission have been met with the limitations on the operation institution during the period of the provisional licensure will be determined by the commission when the granting of the provisional license. Institution holding the provisional license shall not request the approval of the implementation substantive change in units holding the annual licensure license meeting with the accreditation commission may delegate with the executive director for the authority to return the institution for previous state status before commission's meeting with the executive director to determine the change with no negative impact for the institution students attending with the institution. Such action shall be reported for the commission in the next meeting with the further action. The time allowed for the compliance of provisional license shall be granted for the period up to 1 year during with the time the institution shall meet with the conditions demonstrated with the meeting for the same for the annual license meet for the accreditation of the commission to determine the application making the good faith effort to comply with the delay occur due to the extraordinary circumstances coupled with the consideration requirement the accreditation agency of other governmental agencies of the commission shall be granted the extension of the provisional license up to 1 additional year with the require the payment of the appropriate fee of the institution has not complied with the necessary standard for the condition for the period of specified include the unauthorized extension of the new application of licensure for the reflecting of the current situation must be submitted with all the required fees paid to start the application processing again. The process report shall be reported with the commission during the period of the provisional licensure necessary for the inform the commission for the institution progress toward reaching the higher level of the licensure. The probable cause of the institution for which the probable cause has been found with the pursuant to the Rule 6E20061 Florida Administration Code shall be issued provisional license for the under the conditions of license leading to finding the probable cause that have been corrected with the cover the need for the increase monitoring during the time the additional fees should be assessed for the quarterly basis pursuant to the Rule 6E4001 Florida Administration Code. Permissible activity while holding provisional license of the institution made of advertise the recruit and student for the acceptable license for the fees of the tuition behalf of the students hold K for the new institution seek for the other degree for the non-degree granting institution seeking the dad for the degree for the non-degree granting per institution who created credentials required for 1 year or more to earn shall not award the non-degree credentials during the provisional license. The commission shall note that the granting of the provisional license whether in any short-term conditions can be awarded during the staff where there what specific activities may occur. No programs may advertise offered which do not appear with the provisional license. Fair consumer practices provided with the section 1504, 1534 from the Rule 6E10032 Florida Administration Code filed with the institution in all aspects of the operation. Disciplinary actions, ground and procedure for the disciplinary actions against licensures provided in the statute, Chapter 1005, Florida State Statute, Rule 6E20061, Florida Administration Codes. Annual license for the annual license 2, annual licensing. A. Granting of the institution hold of the provisional license. C. The renewal of the annual license should be granted with the annual license for the period of not exceeding 1 year with the commission to determine the institution and demonstrate the full compliance with all the license standard with all the appropriate fees that have been paid with the satisfactory one-site visit must occur prior to the granting of the initial annual license for the accredited institution. May submit the report of satisfactory visiting accreditation agency to specify the requirements extension of the annual license shall be extended for up to 1 year for the institution meets the following requirements. A. The institution held with the annual license here a minimum of 5 consecutive years, and B. The institution has no complaints pending with whereupon probable cause has been found, and the institution has complied with all the appropriate rules and statutes. D. The institution has paid all the appropriate fees. E. Prior to the beginning of the extended year of the license, the institution shall report with the commission. The report shall include the name and the location, license number, the institution name of the chief administrative officer, the number of students enrolled, withdrawn, and graduated with the percentage of the placement of the graduate's copy of the institution catalog with the enrollment agreement with the application for the admission of evidence for the institution with the accreditation status for the, if any, with the reports fulfilling with the commission financial reporting for requirements. If the commission has reason to believe that a problem may exist with which could affect the students, additional report that shall be requested. The institution will hold the annual license extension, but therefore revert the provisional license of the institution undergo the substantial change of probable cause if it be found. C. The permissible activities. 1. The annual license shall permit the full operation of the institution, including, if applicable, the application for the commission for the annual programs of measure for the new allocation pursuant to this Rule 6E 2008 for the Florida Administration Final Consumer the practices as provided in Section 1005-4 and 1005-34, Rule 6E 1.0032 Florida Administration Code filed by the institution in all aspects for the operation. D. Disciplinary actions, ground procedure for the disciplinary actions against licenses provided in Chapter 105, 1005 Florida State Statutes, Rule 6E 20061 Florida Administration Code. License means accreditation. The chair of the commission shall appoint the committee to provide recommendation for the consider the commission regarding the recognition of the accreditation agency. The committee shall go for the purpose of representing the cross-section institutions holding an annual license extension thereby for of the license by means of the accreditation. The chair of the commission shall appoint the chair of the committee. The committee shall meet with the request of the commission of the chair of any member of the accreditation review the committee with the institution is accredited by who personally affiliated with the accreditation agency with the review shall be not vote for the recommendation of accreditation agency. The committee shall evaluate the application of accreditation agency recognized by the U.S. Department of Education to provide the institutional accreditation institution offering primary resident programs and evaluation of accreditation agency recommendation for the commission. The committee shall be determine the level of scope of the agency request recognized by the U.S. Department of Education, identifying the accreditation and standard for each of the agency. Accreditation agencies shall determine to have the standards that are substantially equivalent to the standard commission if they include the policy and procedure following the area protection for the student right for the consumer protection admission procedure for the faculty, credential for the various level, the curriculum and educational delivery, student service, the library, media, with the resource, the outcomes, assessment, evaluation, substantial changes, official and administrative capability of the education facility. So identifying procedure possessing the accreditation agency determining the site oversight with the enforcement of the standard for the ensure the agency with the effective the mechanism to evaluate the institution compliant with the standards. Determining willingness for the accreditation agency to share the information in a timely manner with about institution being with the evaluated visit with the accreditation agency, making recommendation to the commission with the accreditation agency may be about the requirements. After reviewing the standards recognized by the accreditation agency, periodically need to ensure the continuation of substantial equivalency with the commission standards of the requirements the institution may apply with the license for a license means with accreditation if appropriate fees have been paid and if the following materials have been presented for the commission. Evidence for the institution has been licensed except for the license under section 246.0851A of the Florida State Statute 2001 in the state of Florida the past consecutive 5 years and the evidence for the institution Florida corporations. 3. The evidence for the institution holds the institution accreditation granted for the accreditation agency defined in section 105021 for the Florida State Statute evaluated the accreditation review committee with approved of the commission as having reporting organizational operation standard substantial equivalent with the commission license and standard for the evidence of the institution meets the minimum requirements for the financial responsibility. The institution shall demonstrate the compliance with the requirement. Following institution must have the recent annual independent audited financial statement with the pursuant of the subsection 6E2004-6 Full Administration Code. The audit shall cover the official year with which end no earlier than 12 months prior to the application licensor means of the accreditation evaluation. The commission has received and required the documentation appropriate fees. The commission shall evaluate the eligibility of the institutional licensure by the means of the accreditation by determining in addition whether the institution consistently filed with the fair consumer practices provided with the section 100504, 100534 Florida State Statute Rule 6E10032 Florida Administration Codes. All aspects of the operation, the institution unresolved with complaints or other actions passed for that 12 years for the 12 months for the continued expectation of the institution was except for the licensor under the section 246.0851A of the Florida State Statute 2001 must retain the exemption of the commission for the issue with the licensure means with accreditation provided with the statute. The annual review at the time of the annual review license means with accreditation institution shall submit for the current institutional catalog with a copy of the materials provided with the accreditation agency with the license since the last license review except for the case for the level of study the copy of the executive summary for this it will suffice a copy of any correspondence including letters of the motion records of the actions undertaken with the other similar documentation provided by the accreditation agency institution since for the last review and the institution respond for the copy of the annual independent of the institution of the pursuant to subsection 6E20046 of the Florida Administration Code. Material the documentation final fair consumer practice filed with the institution request for the commission material for the documentation the institution has placed for the procedure following commission the requirements on ordering Orderly closing. Duration. The license means for the accreditation valve is the same period for the grade of the accreditation except for the noted by the subparagraph 2 for the paragraph 2, the conclusion of the period of the accreditation for the licensure was granted for the license was expired unless the institution has the appropriate fees submitted for the evidence for the institution constitutes it continues to be eligible license need for the accreditation. In the event of the accreditation, anything deferred with the consideration renewal of the institution accreditation for the commission shall be considered with the circumstances to make a decision whether to extend the license for G before offering the program to extend with the scope of the level of the grant of the accreditation institution holding the license by the means of the accreditation must apply receive an annual licensure pursuant to the section 1005-32-4 of the Florida State Statute. Upon inclusion of the new program, the full grant accreditation institution may apply to reinstate the license means of the accreditation. It's disciplinary action pursuant to sections 1005-32-7 from the Florida State Statute repeated with the failure to comply with the statutory requirement of this statute with the lead of the denial of probation, revocation of the status of talent line in Rule 6E20061 in Florida Administration Code license means with the accreditation revoked and denied institution must immediately obtain annual license. Application deadlines at least annual with the commission shall establish specific deadlines for the date of the filing of the licensure application. Application should report the minimum 30 days of the notice prior to the deadline to submit the application. The Commission shall provide with the notice of the deadlines on the website of the Florida Department of Education or Commission Independent Education and by electronic mail. The application submitted with the application by the deadline provided with the Commission with an electronic web address note for the deadline can be provided unless the request for the extension of the time period received before the deadline provision subsection 6E40018 with the Florida Administration Code shall apply with the applicant fail to meet the application deadline established with the Commission under the subsection rule. Authority 1005-22 1E with the 1005-31 2 and 3 with the Florida State Law 1005-22 10 and 2 TUD and 1005-31 1005-32 1005-33 Florida State History number of December 5th 1974 formerly 6E4011F through I amended November 11th 1975 February 6th 1978 May 7th 1979 October 13th 1983 formerly 6E202 amended November 27th 1989 and 1988 and November 29th 1989 October 1993 April 2nd, 1996, and April 11th, 2000, January 7th, 2003, December 23rd, 2003, and July 10th, 2016, January 30th, 2008, and October 22nd, 2013. All right, 6E 2.004 standard procedure for the licensures.